So girls, let's talk about financial catfishing. Listen, this is something that has actually been happening for time and a day, but what is it? You want to know what is financial catfishing? Okay, let's break this down for you. Financial catfishing is when a man shows up and he's got all of the fancy things. So I'll give you a story. I had a friend and she was dating this guy, and this guy wore the best suits. I mean, he was tall, dark, handsome, and when he came out wearing his Armani or whatever tailored suits he had, all the girls would be like, oh, who that? He was that guy, and he drove a big Mercedes Benz. Like, we're talking about a real Mercedes, because Mercedes comes in different sizes and shapes, etc. Now he lived in a beautiful part of town by the sea in a plush apartment, and everything was taking off. He would take her to lovely restaurants and all things, but something started to feel a little bit fishy. I started to observe that he was always spending nights over at her house. It was always at her house pretty much for most of the week, and then he would go home for probably a weekend, and then he would be back for most of the week. I didn't think anything of it. I just assumed he liked her and he enjoyed spending time with her, but she was complaining that he was distant, he wasn't committing. They'd been dating for a long time, but he just wasn't putting a ring on it and all the things. Now I started to be a little bit suspicious, and I was like, what's going on? And so anyway, we got ourselves a private detective, and we followed him around. It turns out he wasn't going home on the weekends. He was going to another girl's house and spending a night there, and another girl's house and spending the night there. And that's when it hit me. Now, my friend eventually confessed that she would help him out and lend him money now and again, that she never actually got back. So that's when I thought, something is really fishy. Not only is he cheating, but at the time, we just thought it was about sex. We thought this man just wants to be sleeping around, he's a hoe, we need to get rid of him. We thought it was just about his infidelity, but in reality it was financial catfishing. What he did was give the impression that he had all this money. He invested every single penny into creating the image of wealth and affluence, but he couldn't actually afford the lifestyle. So instead of living in his plush apartment and running the bill up to whatever, what he would do is keep his bills, his food bill, his energy bills, all his bills barely at functioning, and he would go and consume the energy of the women, their homes. He didn't have to worry about laundry because they were doing it. He didn't have to worry about electricity because he was spending theirs. He didn't have to worry about groceries because the women that he dated were successful and always had food and were happy to cook for him because he was so sexy. He didn't need to worry about car payments because one of them was going to lend him money, because it's easy to lend a man money when he appears to have money. It's easy to part with some money when it seems like he can afford it. He's just in a spot, and it seems silly to ask for the money back when you know he's got it and you got it, and so what's the point? He spent the night and we had a good time. Financial catfishing is showing up as wealthy, but actually you have no money. This is an age-old trick. We've just found language to put on it, and it is really based on women's hypergamy and men wanting to exploit the hypergamous nature of the feminine. A lot of men have worked out that if they just have the right job title and they have the right trinkets, toys to signal wealth, a lot of women will naturally make room for them in their home, naturally allow them to spend time, naturally lend them money, offer them things, feed them, do all of the things without actually having to be able to afford it. And whatever they earn from their income and from their salary, they can spend it on the other women they're trying to get into the fold, that they're recruiting into the fold. If you're dating a guy and you've seen a guy who has a lot of women and you're struggling, why has he got women? I know sometimes you think it's because of the sex, but much of the time it's because of the money. The more women a man who appears to be wealthy can harvest, can reap from, can take from, the more women he can do that, the more he doesn't actually have to pay his bills. In the instance of this particular gentleman, he had a child with another woman who lived in another country, and he would go and lavish her with big birthday parties and all the things. So what he was doing was actually saving his own income and investing it in his child, whilst using all of these women to finance his lifestyle. Girls, this is so important that you are aware about what is actually going on. If a man wants to spend a lot of time at your place and you don't spend the same amount of time at his, this is a red flag. If he always wants to come and see you and spend time with you and sleep over at yours, if you meet a guy and it's like, yeah, I can come and spend a few days with you, you might be like, we spent all this time together. No, baby, he is saving himself some money. He's saving himself on groceries. He's saving himself on all these things. Unless he is actually coming to your home every day with loads of groceries, shopping and ordering in and spoiling you in your home, he is saving himself some money. So if a guy wants to just come and spend time with you, this is financial catfishing. Number two, if you have a guy who seems to have it all, he seems to have the car, the house, the things, and you're just like, he got this, and it's shiny, but he is not willing to commit to you, even though he says that you are together, baby, it's because he simply cannot afford to take care of you. He can afford for you to take care of him, but he will never commit to you because that means investing financially. That means putting in more money, more time, more effort, and more work. And a man that is financially catfishing is not trying to do that. The second thing is if he wants to move in and he would rather move in with you for whatever reason. Your place is bigger, your place is nicer, your place is great, and he doesn't want to go and get a place just for the two of you that doesn't belong to either one of you, and he wants to move into your place, that is another red flag. Because he does not want the expense of his own apartment or even to keep that apartment, because he already knows you are running your situation already just fine. All he will have to do is make a contribution here or there and still save himself some money. I know that for a long time as women, we have never really seen the rising and always existing hypergamy in a lot of men. Now, 1/3 of men will marry for financial stability and status. This is the feminine man. 1/3 of 9 billion people, let's slice that in half, 4.5 billion are men, and let's make 1/3 of those, that is a few billion men who exist for nothing else but for you to take care of them, who date for no other reason but for you to take care of them. And these men drive flashy cars, they wear great clothing with designer labels. These men are often super shiny. They usually signal wealth, because let me tell you something about real wealth. Real wealth is not loud. Real wealth does not announce itself. Real wealth doesn't need the logos. Real wealth has a way of being silent. He might be wearing a 2,000 pound t-shirt, dollar t-shirt, but you're never gonna know it because you have to be in that world to know that world, to know what he's wearing. Real wealth does spend on itself, but it is the art of silence, just like real confidence. Be really suspicious of a man who needs it to be seen and known and demonstrated that he has wealth. Be very wary of a man who flushes his cash and his money in your face, because 99.9% of the time he has no money. He probably had to go and rob one woman to pay for this date to get you invested so that you will pay for the dates and the lifestyles to come. A lot of men marry that third, that 1.5 billion is a lot of men, a lot of males running around this planet looking for whom they can devour. And so many of us run into them because we genuinely think that the more a man has, the more he is going to be a better provider. The truth of the matter is you've been duped. I have been saying this on this channel for a long time. We need to stop looking for rich men, men who signal wealth, men who have wealth, and start to really check for generosity in a man. Is a man generous? Is a man going to be generous with you? Because it is generosity that provides. It is generosity that provides well. It is generosity that even cares. A man can have all the money in the world and be unwilling to spend it on you because he has a scarcity mindset. A man can signal wealth because it's so easy to do when you have good credit to begin with. And a woman can be silly enough to think that that man actually is interested in her. I want you to be very careful, especially if you're a smart, successful woman who's on an upward trajectory. You are going to be prime real estate. I always say the ones to be most careful amongst women are nurses. You are targeted so much throughout the ages by these types of men. I want you to not allow a man to razzle dazzle you, take you nice places, pay for big trips, because the man who is razzle dazzling you, paying for this, taking you there, and cannot sustain it for over 6 months without giving you his hand for you to fill it, without expecting you to turn around and do something for him, and you know what, it starts in small ways. It starts in ways like he has a particular brand of brandy that he likes, and that particular bottle is always worth a lot of money to buy. And the moment he mentions that, you feel like it's a small thing to buy him because he always pays for these lavish dinners. Once he can tell that you're prepared to go and buy it for him, once he can tell you're prepared to listen and get him the things that he thinks are valuable, his effort begins to slow down. Where he was giving in financial and material ways, he begins to switch over and start to give in sexual ways, in emotional ways, but never giving you his emotional availability, because it's not going to work if you're not going to be chasing him, if he's not going to come across as valuable. So this is what I want you to consider and think about really carefully, because so many of us are shallow. We're falling for the okie doke. I want you to go for men who move in the earth of sobriety, who look good, dress good, show up good, but don't need to flash you with things, don't need to show you their big cars so that you are seduced into thinking this man has money. Because 99.9% of the time, when you listen to these stories of women that have been duped and bankrupted of so much money, it is never a broke looking guy, it is never a sober looking man, it is never a man that moves in the world silent about his wealth. It is always the one whose wealth is on display that it ends up robbing these women of money. I want us to be careful out here, girly whirlies, and that's why I've done this video. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section and I will answer you or make a follow-up video. I hope you enjoyed this and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. In the meantime, do take care of you. Love you lots. Bye.